from MTN, the Montana Television Network. This is Face the State.
Good morning and welcome to this week's Face the State. I'm John Shearer. March 5th marked the 10th anniversary of the downtown Bozeman explosion. It claimed the life of one person, Tara Bowman, and injured at least one other person. It caused 8 businesses in the 200 block of Bozeman's Main Street to close. The blast destroyed or damaged apartments and damaged businesses up and down the street. We spoke with a dozen people who were there, owned an affected business, was a first responder, or was a public official at the time. We sat down in the meeting room of First Security Bank on the main street across from the Bozeman explosion site. We begin with former Mayor Jeff Krause.
You know, what I remember from the morning was just the fear about the loss of life. You know, we were so worried how many people we couldn't get in touch with, the idea of the people driving by, you know, and that's what I remember primarily was as we found people, you know, the relief as we found people, and then the disappointment and sorrow when one person turned up to be a fatality. That's what I remember about the morning.
What did you think was going to be, you know, what was your worst case scenario? What did you think you were going to be dealing with?
Well, at first I think we had 12 or 14 people missing. And I didn't know if that included people we didn't know about that were just driving by, because this would, you know, it was 8:30 something, and it was going to be right there during morning drive time. And people were going to be stopped at a light, and the way it blew out, we just thought people walking by, people inside the buildings. I'm sure my worst case scenario was that several of those people that we couldn't find right away were going to have been killed.
Mm-hmm. As the day went on and it took 15 hours to shut off the gas, and you know, more and more people were coming in, what was going on with city government?
Well, there were some amazing things that were going on. You know, we dumped a couple million gallons of water on the site, and so we had to fully involve the Public Works Department, the Water Department. We were emptying the tank at a great rate, and then all of the responders, mutual aid responders from around the county were showing up. The Public Works Director, Debbie Arkell at the time, was organizing her crews so that they started from the other end, and they were helping board up the windows and just make sure that the buildings were safe for someone to come in before they were boarded up, because for a while there were a number of buildings no one could go in. We were responding to questions from other business owners, particularly the ones right down here. What was going on. I think those were the key things. And, you know, a little bit of concern that it might spread, but I think you know, and it did spread some, right? It spread to what I think is the next building to the east, and eventually that had to be taken down as well. So there was some worry about the block itself, and then but I think what I remember was, of course, the concerns about the lives, and then the concerns of the business owners, and because the blast wave bounced down the street and blew out the windows on opposite sides of the streets as it bounced, and that was a phenomenon I don't think anybody was prepared for. But you know how far it went and how many buildings were damaged, what the amount of damage that was. You think about these buildings are very old down here, and they're just brick masonry walls. And did it affect the Baxter? Did it affect the Bozeman Hotel? Did the front facades of some of these buildings, were they structurally impaired? So the building department was fully involved. This was very much a team effort by the city of Bozeman. And then as the day went on, it became a team effort for the people of Bozeman, as people showed up and brought food and supplies and volunteered to help. And that essentially that's what I did manning the phones, was people calling and saying, can we drop something off? What can we do to help? I heard a lot of those kinds of questions, just manning the phones in City Hall.
Afterward, you know, kind of after the day and the first few days gets by us, did you find that people were apprehensive about coming back downtown?
I didn't. I did not find that at all. And what I found were the business owners and the property owners anxious to fix their windows and open their doors. And you know, I talk about, I mean, I think we talk about the loss of life, the first responders and how well they did, the way the city pulled together. And then I think the biggest thing that impressed me were the first replacers, the people that came in right away and said, you know, we've lost our businesses, we've lost our buildings, and yet we want to get started. When can we get started rebuilding? And that happened almost immediately. Of course, there was some time where insurance companies and all of the principals involved had to get together, but you know, there was an immediate reaction to when can we replace. And as you know, the first replacers, the very first people to come back in and build a building were the American Legion. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. These are the guys that are trained to run towards the sound of gunfire. And I think that for them to run in and plant the flag in Bozeman, in the center of that destruction, and to come out and say, we want to get started right away, set the tone for how Bozeman was going to move forward from this. There are a lot of towns where that don't recover from these large explosions, or they have vacant lots. You cannot underestimate what it means to have someone come in right away and say, we're rebuilding. And of course that happened with the businesses, that happened with the customers, that happened with everybody. This is valuable this is the heart of town, and it was beating strongly immediately after the explosion.
Why was it that you decided to go right back in that same spot? I mean, you could have moved down Main Street farther.
We could have, but the thing about it was, then we're starting from ground zero. At least we had a piece of ground that was ours, and we could go. I mean, we could immediately start. If we were going to go to another building, it would have been another month or two delay in doing the processing of purchasing the property and going through all of that, and then starting again. So most of the board we all agreed, the majority agreed that, hey, let's just stay right where we're at and go for it.
How difficult was it for you to get that going that fast? I mean, did you have government, or, you know, like, who had to give you the permits to, you know, were there roadblocks? Was that hard to do?
Oh yeah, there was plenty of roadblocks, but again, we had a great group that was heading up the building committee, and they knew all the ins and outs and who to go talk to if this didn't work, or who not to go talk to, and all that kind of stuff. So if we got delayed a little bit with something, then we went in and we said, no, we got to get going, and we got the process going. So there was some roadblocks and some stumbling blocks along the way, but we worked right through them, and we just kept on putting the gas pedal down and saying, we're going. We got to get this thing up and going. So we did. And so the Republican women's of Gallatin County, they bought us. We lost everything, and we lost all of our flags. We lost that we put up on Main Street all the time for different special days. And well, we lost all our memorabilia. We lost all our we lost everything. And so they said, can we buy you new flags? We said, yeah, thank you. So they bought us all 89 new flags. So, and then one of the electrical companies said, we'll provide you with rigid conduit for your poles, for your flags. So they donated all of those and hooked those all up for us. It was like, wow, where are all these people coming from? And other places around here, they all said, what can we do to help? And some of them gave us money, some of them, you know, just got us whatever, you know, we could use. And it was a great awakening because we were pretty quiet back. We did our little veterans thing, and that was pretty much it. We weren't actively in the community, but now we are. And it's because the community stepped up to us that we stepped back to them. So it was a great marriage, actually.
Can you tell me a little bit about your manager who was in the building when the explosion happened?
Oh, Tom, yeah. He always, his ritual was at 8 in the morning, or a little bit before, he'd drive his vehicle back through the alleyway and check our back door and the back of our building and check to see how much trash might be out there, or how much he had to go out back and clean up or whatever. And as he's driving through, he smelled natural gas. So he said, well, of course, that's not right. And so he drove around and parked in front like he normally does and went downstairs and dialed 911. And as soon as he was ready to hit 1 again, kaboom, and knocked him on his back. And then he heard the rumble from upstairs because that was the basement. And then we had another story and another story. So that was all collapsing in. And he heard the rumble. He said, it sounded like an earthquake, you know. But he said, I didn't know what it was, but I didn't like the sound. And he said, I got the heck out of there. So he didn't finish the call, just got up, went up, crawled up the stairs, got outside, and a fireman was running down the street towards him, still putting his jacket on. And he said, are you all right? He said, yeah. He said, get over to the fire station. And then all the first responders were there. So. And that's when it started burning and more collapsing and so on and so forth. But he made it out okay, and his truck was parked out front, and it got a little bit of damage, but it seemed like it kind of went around him a little bit, so it wasn't too badly damaged. So
You talked about this tragedy bringing you back to the community. How's that work now? This like community of the 200 block and the greater community of Bozeman.
Yeah, we're all one big family now. We never paid any attention to our neighbors before, and it was kind of amazing. But now it's like, you know, everybody helps us, we help them. It's just a great big family now. It was a great awakening.
What was happening for you before the blast?
I was stationed out at Station 2, which is off of 19th there, and we were out shoveling snow. And it was interesting because it didn't come over our radios or our pagers. It was basically another captain was down at Station 1 and actually heard the blast and called out on just the regular telephone and said, hey, we have some type of blast, you want to start heading this way. So that's kind of how our day started.
So you're heading in. Did you feel it at all where you were over there?
No, we were outside, didn't feel it. And then I was trying to get confirmation just because we were going in basically blind. We didn't have any information. It was just some sort of explosion or blast. And so as we were driving, I remember turning on Main Street and heading down, and then you could kind of see the explosion or the smoke rising and everything. And that's when we were trying to put it all together.
So what's the first thing that goes through your mind when you round that corner and see it?
It was really surreal. And what I mean by that is as we got closer, like 2 or 3 blocks out, you could start, debris was in the air and was falling down. And it, people were standing, there were people standing on the sidewalks. I remember them, everyone was kind of dazed because nobody really knew what was going on. And it really felt like, it reminded me a lot sort of the shots that you would see at 9/11 on a smaller scale in terms of there was just debris and smoke and everything, and glass was all over in the roadway, and we were trying to figure out, okay, where exactly is this and what do we have?
Right, right. Did you at that time know that it had been a gas explosion?
No, initially I was thinking some type of bomb, and really more terrorist is what I was thinking. Just because we don't have explosions like this. I mean, I've never, in my career, we'd never gone on an explosion of that magnitude. And so it really didn't, but we've been trained, and then during that time from 9/11, a lot of our training coming out of that was weapons of mass destruction. So it was kind of, I guess, cognitively in the back of my brain thinking about that. So that's kind of what I was thinking, was there was some major bomb that went off, or someone, somebody set out harm. And so that was kind of what I was thinking when I was trying to process everything.
We also spoke with people at the Rocking R Bar, which was rebuilt on the blast site. Would you have had people here? What was your first reaction there?
Yeah, the cleaners or the bookkeeper would have been, we wouldn't have had staff here at that early in the morning, but they could have been here, and the snow slowed everybody up and adjusted people's schedules a little bit, so that was a blessing in disguise in all reality.
I've heard other people talk about that, the fact that it was a day not unlike the day that's going on here right now.
Correct.
Almost 10 years later. So talk to me a little bit about that snow and how that affected life on this block that morning.
Yeah, I think it slowed everybody up. It wasn't a ton of snow, but there was enough snow that everybody was probably 35 minutes, 40 minutes behind where they normally would be. And there'd normally be more people going up and down Main Street or parking in front of the bar at that time in the morning, but there was just enough snow that it slowed everybody up, and that window when the explosion happened, there wasn't as many people down here as there normally would have been.
Oh, wow. And did you get to talk to some people who did happen to be in the area at the time?
Yeah, I've talked to, there were several people. Tom Jones, who ran the Legion at the time, was actually in the basement of the Legion. If I remember correctly, I think he got knocked to the floor when the explosion happened and was completely surprised.
I'll bet. There was a bank meeting going on across the street too.
I think they had a board of directors meeting going on, and at that time First Security was under big remodel and reconstruction. They had a big construction walkway covering the whole front side of the building. Well, those used to all be windows, and that's where their board meeting was. Thank God that construction walkway was there, because it prevented the debris from blowing into the bank, and I got a feeling those windows would have blown out at that time if that wouldn't have been there.
Mm. So you're coming downtown, you finally get down here, and you probably didn't know what to expect on the way. When you saw the front or the block, this part of the block, what did you think?
I was just, oh my God, what happened? It was almost like a war zone, to be honest with you. There wasn't people everywhere, but the destruction was so bad, and it was surreal, to be honest with you. You know, a funny story is, at that point in my life, I didn't even have a cell phone, and my wife was always after me to get a cell phone. Well, I borrowed her that cell phone that morning from her, and I never gave it back to her. So I've used her cell phone and that number ever since that day.
Wow. And did you have any thoughts right away about how you would react to this, what you would do, what would happen with the business?
You know, I think the first thought was to make sure everybody was okay. Then the next thought was hopefully the firemen and all the public safety people were okay. And that night, after, I'd say probably about 6 o'clock at night, we had Ferraro's Italian restaurant at the time. We went over to the restaurant, and the outpouring of public support immediately was unbelievable. The lounge all filled up with impromptu of people that we knew came down wanting to know how we could help you. We got a call from the governor mid-morning saying anything he needed, he could help. Our local politicians were all on board, and that morning everybody was for Bozeman and not for themselves, that's for sure.
It's such a shock. that it is hard to put two and two together. You're not looking at it as logically as you might later. But it was just, you just kind of knew at that moment that life, as you know it, had changed forever. You didn't know why, but you knew that things were different.
At what point did Tara come up?
Tara didn't come up for a little while, probably a couple hours in, because at that point that I knew I had figured out that the gallery, the news had traveled enough and I was able to deduce that the gallery had gone as well. So then I was trying to find Steve, because I know, Tara, Steve, everybody at the gallery, and I was trying to find him to make sure that he was okay, and he was looking for Tara. So then I was like, oh my God, and he said, have you heard, have you seen her, and I said, no, I haven't, but I'll start looking right now too. I'm sure she's fine, let's just, one step at a time. But you could tell that we were both, had this kind of weird feeling of hope to God she's okay, but she just was the only part that none of us could really account for. But there was so much chaos that we weren't really drawing any conclusions either.
At what point did you really start to get worried? Because it was several days, actually, what, 2 days?
Toward the end of the first day, I kind of started to have a sinking feeling, because no one had heard from her, and there was a lot of us that were in the Bikram yoga community, and Tara was an everyday yoga attendant. So that's where I went next. I was like calling the studio, like, have you guys, was Tara at class today? And nobody had seen her. But again,
what are your memories of Tara?
Anybody that knew Tara would say that she probably had the prettiest smile of anybody that you've ever met. Just very positive, glowing. She was very much a quiet part of the glue to downtown. She was just quiet and graceful, but everyone knew Tara, and everybody had something special to say about her, whether they knew her well or not. And I felt like she just brought light everywhere up and down Main Street, and to all those that knew her. Everyone loved her. Everyone had, nothing but kindness before and after this to say about her. And she was a very inspiring woman, and still is to this day.
At that point, where you were able to clear your backlog or your list of missing people and get it down to one.
By the end of the day, early on into the evening of the day of the explosion, we realized Tara was the only person that was most probably lost. We couldn't account for her. Family members knew where she was at the time that the explosion occurred, and there was no way for us to get our detectives or the fire crews into that area. From the very first moment that we responded, there was no way to get to her. And that's the part that's still hard for all of us, knowing the family suffered a loss. We're very thankful nobody else was injured or lost, but we lost one person of our community. And that always weighs heavy on us. When we started the investigation, there was so much debris. We had a hard time locating the footprint of the building where we eventually found her. We did a lot of work into another building, it turns out, before we realized we were too far east, and finally located the building of Trails Gallery. We were able to recover her for her family.
Do you think the weather played a role perhaps in preventing further injuries or deaths that day?
I have to believe it did, because driving from the Law and Justice Center to downtown, Code 3 was pretty scary by itself because of how slippery it was. But downtown, I think everybody was late moving that morning, much like today. Very icy, very, very slippery roads, and I think people were not walking downtown like you might have seen on any given day. Some of the businesses that we thought would have people in it didn't have anybody at work at that time. So I'm thankful for the snow. Probably prevented further injury or death.
What would you have seen as a worst case scenario? I mean, as you're coming down Main Street trying to get there, what are you thinking?
And I was thinking that we're going to have multiple injuries, multiple fatalities, both within the buildings and out on Main Street. There was traffic on Main Street, and how no vehicles got damaged, no people got injured.
Earlier in the day, in between all of this breaking news and what we're trying to put on the air and doing extra shows, we were invited to Tara Restad Bowman's mother's home, and the family was there. And you and I dashed out in the middle of the afternoon when we were still trying to put together shows, and that was just awful. It was just awful. I can still see that house sitting in that living room and that family gathered around her, and she seemed to me to be just so in shock and so dazed and devastated, and I was fighting back tears, trying to be professional, and knowing that we were intruding on one of the most devastating times of her life. We wanted to get the story, we didn't want to be intrusive, and it's a fine line to try and get a story and to help people understand, but to have somebody's pain like that, as a mother to a mother, I wanted to just weep with her. And you can't, and I knew I had all this other to get done, and you want to be professional, but it was awful for her, and she was suffering so. And I'm just, even to this day, 10 years later, how difficult it must have been for her. Those of us who have children, it's hard to even let yourself go there as a mother, to even think of losing your child. Even though Tara was in her 30s, they're always your baby. They're always your baby. And we were there, and they were so strong, and she was in so much shock. She said something to the effect, I could still hear her saying something to the effect of, "I'm not sure how I'll go on from this." And I thought to myself, I don't know how you do. I don't know how you do go on from that. Very, very difficult. It was probably the one thing that stands out to me the most on that day, was being with them. And I think I was probably a little too shy to tell her that I would pray for her. I don't remember that accurately enough to say, but I certainly was praying for her and the whole family. There were a lot of people there that were struggling, and it's so shocking to have something like that happen, so abrupt and so shocking, and to lose a person like that. They're here and they're gone.
Thank you for joining us today on Face the State for a look back at the Bozeman explosion from 10 years ago. I'm John Shearer. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You've been watching Face the State, a presentation of MTN, the Montana Television Network.